Greetings, St. Barnabas members and friends. We continue our reflections on the Lord's Prayer, and I want to take up the theme of commissioning. It's interesting that the Lord's Prayer doesn't have an explicit commissioning. So if you think of the Gospels of Matthew, Luke, and John, each of them end with the followers of Jesus being commissioned to carry on his mission. And as I have said, if the Lord's Prayer is a roadmap for the spiritual journey, and in my mind, it's a complete roadmap for the complete journey, then how is it that it doesn't have a commissioning with it? And I'd rather invite us to consider that the Lord's Prayer assumes we are in the fray of daily life. It assumes we are in the profound struggle that is described in the last two petitions. Lead us not into temptation, but rescue us or save us from evil. And so there we are in the midst of, as I've said previously, evil, an incomplete world, in the midst of the trauma of being human, our own personal trauma, our encounter with other human beings who are experiencing the trauma of an incomplete world. And in all the ways that we experience that, and all the temptations that we encounter, and there we are in the midst of that, and desperately aware of our need of forgiveness, and our need for mercy, and our need for kindness, and our need to offer forgiveness, and our need to offer mercy, and our need to offer kindness. And there we are in the midst of that struggle. And from there, then, Jesus says, when you come to your God, pray like this. And so we're already in the fray, and Jesus invites us then to talk with our God this way, to be in relationship with our God this way. And so again, I bring us back to that first word, the God of infinite, intimate concern and love and presence to each one of us. Know your God is that God whom Jesus calls Abba, and know your God is there as that God for you and for all of us, Abba of us, who dwells in the heavens. Enter into the spiritual heavenly dimension in the midst of the fray, in the midst of the struggle that you experience yourself in an incomplete world, and the trauma of that for you personally and how you encounter the human situation. Go to your God. Find your relationship with your God as the God who is with you intimately, and in a sense, and bring the whole human family with you, and then lose yourself there. Enter into the spiritual heavenly dimension, lose yourself there. And I'm going to have more to say about that in upcoming reflections, because there's another whole dimension of the Lord's Prayer that I want to touch on. Then name it as God's work. Oh God, finish the creation. Let be hallowed the name of you. Let come the kingdom of you. Let happen the will of you. Complete your work, oh God. Save us from this incomplete world. Rescue us from this incomplete world in which we are sorely tempted, in which we are confused, in which we hurt one another, in which there's just so much happening that's not clearly your will. Save us, rescue us, finish your creation. It's all about God's work. Then comes, as I've said previously, the great transition. Give us the supersubstantial bread of the Spirit. Fill us with your Spirit that we can live as you would have us live as your disciples, carrying on your work in the world. We understand we are your partners in hallowing the name and bringing the kingdom and letting happen your will. Infuse us with the Spirit. Feed us with the supersubstantial bread today, moment by moment. And in that place then, we experience the equipping of the Spirit, the empowering of the Spirit of the living God emerging from our innermost being. And as I've said, there are three themes I've wanted to identify there. The first one being the fruits of the Spirit begin to emerge in us. The fruits of love, peace, joy, kindness, gentleness, etc. begin to emerge in us. And we begin to experience our own particular, unique giftedness to be God's partners and God's servants in the world. And we experience our giftedness infused and empowered by the Spirit of the living God to serve the trauma that we experience in the human situation, to give mercy and kindness and forgiveness with and through and in our own particular unique giftedness to be God's partners and to be servants in the world. And so, and especially as we encounter the desperate need for forgiveness, touches everything. Our need for forgiveness and our need to forgive. As we encounter that and as we touch that with our engagement with the struggle and the fray and the challenge of the human situation. And then there is a third theme of the Spirit that emerges that I want to characterize as wisdom. And I want to save that for the next reflection to talk about this third way that I think the Spirit equips us and empowers us to be God's partners. In the meantime, as you pray this prayer, and as you let this prayer be a guide for you on the spiritual journey and a guide for you in your relationship with your God, your own personal experience, your encounter with the challenge of being human, the temptations that the Spirit leads you into, because the Spirit leads you into places of darkness and incompletion and places where you need to be a servant. And as you experience the incompleteness of the world and the challenges all around us, the fear and the uncertainty, let that then propel you into, "Oh Abba," or "Oh Amma," of us. Hallow your name. Bring your kingdom. Affect your will. Infuse me, feed me with the supersubstantial bread that I might know you are with me, and I might know what you have given me to do, and I might know how, and I might have a deep sense of your presence and your strength and your inspiration to be a peaceful, loving, kind, gentle, wise servant in the midst of an incomplete world. More to come. Peace to you.